The day Queen Jezebel died, one of the worst deaths in the Bible. Imagine a woman who, in a male-dominated world, not only stood out, but also became a symbol of power and betrayal. Jezebel, the Queen of Israel, is a figure that evokes both fear and fascination. Her life is a narrative of unchecked ambition, dark influences, and a tragic fate. But before you like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of surprising stories. The rise of Jezebel. Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, entered the history of Israel as an intriguing and complex figure, challenging norms and traditions in a male-dominated era. Her marriage to King Ahab was not just a political union. It was a strategic maneuver that positioned her as an influential force in the Israelite court. As the daughter of the king of Tyre, Jezebel brought with her not only a royal heritage, but also a culture that worshipped pagan gods. Her faith in Baal and Astarte became the engine of her rise. Upon establishing herself in Israel, she was not content to be just a submissive queen. Jezebel was determined to shape society according to her vision. Once she became queen, Jezebel actively promoted the worship of Baal, building temples and encouraging idol worship. This religious shift was an act of deviation that not only undermined the worship of the God of Israel, but also challenged the foundations of the people's identity. In doing so, Jezebel became a figure of power, controlling not only the king, but also the spiritual fate of the nation. Jezebel was not just a Phoenician princess. She was a woman who married King Ahab, a man often portrayed as weak and impressionable. From the moment she entered the Israelite court, Jezebel brought with her not only her beauty, but also her fervent faith in pagan gods, especially Baal. With this change, she not only challenged the traditions of a people who worshipped the God of Israel, but also cast a shadow over the nation. Her power manifested in the construction of temples and the promotion of the worship of Baal, an act that alienated many but granted her undeniable influence. Jezebel did not hesitate to eliminate anyone who opposed her. Prophets of God were persecuted and killed under her command, and she became the epitome of moral corruption. The influence of Jezebel. The influence of Jezebel went beyond her actions. She was a cunning manipulator. Her ability to articulate her desires, disguised as the needs of the kingdom, made her a feared figure. Through her schemes, such as the betrayal against Naboth, which resulted in the death of an innocent man merely to satisfy Ahab's greed, she left an indelible mark on history. Jezebel's life teaches us about the consequences of allowing oneself to be dominated by ambition and power. Her trajectory is a warning about how the unrestrained pursuit of control can lead to destruction, not only of others but of oneself. The influence of Jezebel in the history of Israel is one of the most fascinating and disturbing aspects of her trajectory. She was not merely a queen. She was a shrewd strategist who shaped the politics and culture of her time, profoundly impacting the worship and morality of the nation. From her rise, Jezebel stood out as a powerful figure, challenging traditional gender norms. Instead of limiting herself to the role of a submissive wife, she positioned herself as the true ruler, manipulating Ahab to implement her ambitions. Her ability to dominate the king and influence his political decisions was remarkable, leading to a series of changes that affected the entire nation. One of her most significant influences was the introduction and promotion of the worship of Baal in Israel. Jezebel not only built temples, but also encouraged idol worship, challenging faith in the God of Israel. This religious revolution had a lasting impact, creating divisions among the people and leading to a period of idolatry that distanced many from their spiritual roots. Jezebel used her influence to silence opposition. The elimination of God's prophets, such as the persecution of Elijah, is a clear example of how she used fear as a control mechanism. The execution of Naboth, merely to satisfy her desire for his vineyard, demonstrates her willingness to eliminate anyone who stood in her way. This combination of manipulation and cruelty solidified her power, but also sowed discontent and resistance. The day of her death, and then we reach the climax of her story, the day Jezebel died. When the prophet Elijah, who represented the true God, predicted Jezebel's downfall, Many likely laughed at the idea that such a powerful woman could be brought down. But as we know, fate is often merciless. When Jehu, anointed by God to restore order in Israel, arrived in the city, Jezebel did not hesitate to try to maintain her position. She painted herself, looked out the window, and challenged Jehu. The scene is almost cinematic. The queen, in her glory, attempting to seduce her fate. But the reality was brutal. Jehu was not impressed. In an act of contempt and disdain, he ordered her to be thrown out the window. And so, the queen who once ruled with an iron fist met her end in a tragic fall. Her body was trampled, and the dogs, those that symbolized devouring and ruin, consumed what remained of her. The day of Queen Jezebel's death is a dramatic and symbolic narrative, reflecting the culmination of her life marked by ambition, betrayal, and idolatry. This event not only concludes her story, but also serves as a powerful lesson about the consequences of living outside the principles of justice and righteousness. Jezebel, known for her manipulation and cruelty, faced her fate in a context of conflict and revolt. When Jehu, a new leader anointed by God, arrived in Jezreel determined to eradicate idolatry and restore worship to the God of Israel, the tension was palpable. For many, Jehu's presence represented the justice that had finally come to confront Jezebel's tyranny. Jezebel, infamous for her manipulation and cruelty, met her fate against the backdrop of a society rife with conflict and revolt. The air was thick with tension when Jehu, a newly anointed leader chosen by God, stormed into Jezreel, his mission clear: to eradicate idolatry and restore true worship of the God of Israel. As he advanced, the weight of his presence loomed large, symbolizing a reckoning that many had long awaited. For the oppressed and disenfranchised, Jehu embodied the justice and divine intervention that would finally confront Jezebel's tyrannical reign. Her reign, marked by deception and the persecution of true believers, was now under siege, and the people felt a flicker of hope igniting amidst the despair. In this charged moment, the struggle between good and evil crystallized, as Jehu's determination clashed with Jezebel's entrenched power, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation that would forever alter the course of their lives and the nation itself. At the moment Jehu approached the city, Jezebel, undeterred, armed herself with her usual audacity. She painted herself, donned her finest garments, and looked out the window, trying to maintain the appearance of control and power. This scene, where a queen attempted to seduce her fate, is a portrait of her contempt for prophetic warnings. Jehu, without hesitation, ignored her advances. In an act of contempt, he ordered the eunuchs to throw her out the window. What followed was a brutal moment that symbolized her loss of power. The impact of her body on the ground and the subsequent devouring by dogs were elements that not only marked her death, but also the manner in which her life was ended, in disgrace and solitude. Jezebel's death is a tragic epilogue to her life of manipulation and unchecked ambition. Although she was a powerful queen, her story ends as a warning about the consequences of moral corruption and the pursuit of power at any cost. The fate that awaited her, besides being a dramatic moment in the biblical narrative, invites reflection on the nature of leadership and the risks of straying from truth and justice. Final reflections. The death of Jezebel is not just a historical event. It is a powerful lesson about the dangers of manipulation and betrayal. The queen who sought absolute power died in disgrace, a somber reminder that unchecked ambition can lead to destruction. As we reflect on the life and death of Jezebel, we are invited to consider our own choices. In a world where ambition and the desire for power can blind us, it is essential to remember that true strength lies in integrity, compassion, and justice. May the story of Jezebel inspire us to seek the light instead of darkness, and to build legacies marked not by fear and betrayal, but by kindness and truth.